The Fever had that one. The Fever had that game, man. They had it in the bag. They were in control. They had it. They had it. They had it. They just forgot how to play basketball.
Other video, and I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of people to blame for this.
Indiana Fever fans, they are absolutely losing it after this game tonight. Look, this was a winnable game. The Aces even looked shaky out there, but somehow the Fever just seemed to sabotage themselves. And guess what? Everyone's pointing fingers straight at Stephanie White. We're talking bad rotations, all those missed free throws, and practically zero point guard presence. It's all piling up, right? So here's what I'm wondering. Is this just really bad coaching, or is something much crazier going on? Do you think Stephanie White is intentionally holding this team back? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But first, let's talk about that total collapse, because that's when Fever fans' blood pressure went through the roof.
They had the game won. They made 2 field goals in the fourth quarter, and they were both in garbage time. They went 9 minutes without a field goal. 9 minutes without a field goal, and shout out Lexi Hull for finally scoring one. Kelsey Mitchell took 26 shots for 0 assists.
The thing is, this game really wasn't out of reach for Indiana. For most of the night, they totally had a shot. They were actually rebounding better. Plus, they were hustling harder in spurts. And get this, Vegas wasn't even playing their best basketball. Aja Wilson was having what everyone's calling an off night. I mean, 13 points, 8 boards, 4 assists? That's not MVP level. Not by a long shot. You know, when the other team's superstar is struggling, that's your chance to pounce. That's when you steal a win. But the Fever, they absolutely flopped.
All W first team hasn't been exceptional in the playoffs. She was bad today. She was real bad today. Aerial Powers, look, I love her effort. Aerial Powers lost us that game. That is when the game ended. Like, there is 10 seconds to go in the third quarter, and Aaliyah Boston is standing wide open under the basket. Aerial Powers did not pass her the ball. And then Powers takes like 3-4 dribbles. Aaliyah's still wide open. And then eventually when she gets the ball to Aaliyah, it's a 3-second call. And then for some reason, Aerial Powers decides to front Jackie Young with 3 seconds to go, full court, and let Jackie Young run in a wide open layup. Suddenly, it goes from us being up 1 going into the fourth to down 3.
Okay, but here's the stat that really stings. Indiana pulled down 39 rebounds, and 16 of those were on the offensive glass. That's a stat line you expect from a team that wins a close game, right? Instead, they just completely wasted it. Why? Because they shot a terrible 25 for 72 from the field. That's just 34%. And when you add a pathetic 7 for 23 from three-point land, the outcome is obvious. They literally handed the game away, brick by brick. And don't even get me started on the free throws. They went 13 for 21, that's only 62%. Come on, this isn't high school or AO, this is the WNBA. Free throws are supposed to be a sure thing. For a pro, free throws are like your rent money. You show up, you cash in, no excuses. But Kelsey Mitchell, she looked like she'd never seen a rim before, missing one after another. You could just feel the air leave the building every single time.
Steph, close game late in the third, and then you guys really stalled on the offensive end. What did you see that they were doing or that you guys were not doing well enough to keep up and score in that stretch?
Yeah, I mean, I thought we got a lot of good shots. Didn't make a lot of them. You know, we missed some opportunities at the free throw line, and then we got a little stagnant. You know, we were still in a good spot because we were getting stops until about middle of the fourth, and they went on that run. But look, I thought our energy was good. I thought our competitive spirit was good. At the end of the day, you know, you just look at the field goal mix, and the free throw mix, and you know, it's a different ball game. And you know, Vegas is.
Now let's talk coaching, because fans are absolutely roasting Stephanie White for this mess. And honestly, she earned it. The rotations were just a disaster. Natasha Howard gave them 5 points, 5 rebounds, and just no life at all. Yet she played long stretches, like she was prime Candace Parker or something. Odyssey Sims looked completely lost, turning the ball over, looking hesitant, not pushing the tempo. Did White pull her quickly? Nope. She left her out there, letting Vegas just build momentum. Meanwhile, Lexi Hall was out there fighting through pain, dropping a double-double, diving for loose balls, playing like her leg didn't even matter. Did White give her more opportunities? Nah. It's like the toughest player on the roster was totally invisible to her coach. And that's where fans are screaming sabotage. I mean, when players giving you everything get sidelined for those who are just mailing it in, that doesn't look like strategy. It looks like someone is deliberately tanking the whole vibe. Vegas didn't even win this game by just dominating. They won because Indiana literally handed it to them on a silver platter. Jackie Young dropped 25, Chelsea Gray chipped in, sure, but it wasn't a beatdown. It was Indiana running straight into a wall they built themselves. The turnovers were even. Both teams had. So that should mean it's balanced, right? But Indiana's turnovers, they came at the absolute worst times. These were momentum-killing mistakes you could feel echoing in the arena. That's not just sloppy players, that's a team without any direction. And where does direction come from? Coaching. This is where the conspiracy theories really start bubbling up. Fans are looking at Stephanie White and saying, she doesn't want Caitlin Clark back. Why? Because Clark changes everything. She forces the system to run through her. She makes the ball move differently. She demands that the team's entire identity be built around her playmaking. And White? She just doesn't want that. Think about it. Clark's injury timeline suggested she could be back right about now. We've seen players return from groin injuries in similar, or even shorter, stretches. But the Fever have kept her sidelined. Not ready yet. Still recovering. It's the same line over and over. And fans aren't buying it. They're connecting the dots. They think White has convinced the front office that Indiana is better without Clark, or that the offense flows better when it doesn't revolve around one player. Except, here's the reality check. They are not better. They are not winning. They're losing in embarrassing fashion while Clark just sits and watches. That whole, we play better without her excuse totally collapsed the moment Vegas, on a bad night, still walked away with a double-digit win. So, let's compare coaching philosophies. Look at Becky Hammon. She doesn't hide her stars. She doesn't try to clip their wings. She lets Aja Wilson play through mistakes, while still holding the team accountable. That balance, that's why Vegas wins. Stephanie White, she looks terrified of letting Clark come back and take control. Instead, she'd rather run her safe system with role players. It's predictable, and it's losing. This isn't just about X's and O's either. It's about identity. Caitlin Clark is in her second year now, not some rookie. She's the face of the WNBA, whether some vets like it or not. She's why arenas sell out, why TV ratings spike, why casual fans even tune in. And somehow her own coach is acting like the Fever are better off without her. That's not just bad basketball. That's franchise suicide. And let's not forget the locker room dynamic. Lexi Hall has shown she's the warrior of this squad. Tough, unselfish, and relentless. But she's not being used right. Natasha Howard, invisible. Sims, lost. Ariel Powers showed flashes in 11 minutes, but never got more Kelsey Mitchell dropped 21, but totally went missing when it mattered most. That's not just on the players, you guys. That's a coach who doesn't know how to push the right button. And here's the kicker. Sims believes Stephanie White actually told the front office something like this. If Caitlin comes back now, we'll have to change everything. We'll lose our flow, we'll collapse. And management bought it. They let Clark sit there while the team just crumbled without her. That's not just questionable. That's sabotage. Plain and simple.
Asia's not gonna have two stinkers in a row. I feel like the Aces didn't even really play well tonight. They kind of handed the Fever that game, and the Fever kind of blew it, which makes me so sad. Obviously, you can never count out this Fever team because of what they accomplished, but now they have a very tough task if they want to make it to the finals. They have to win one game at home, and then they have to go back to Vegas and try to win a game 5 where it's both teams win or go home. And honestly, that's a super tough task going up a team like the Aces with a coach like Becky Hammon, a 2-time WNBA champion, who also coached in the NBA before coming to the WNBA. Like, it feels like she's already changed up the defense quite a bit, and it's really disrupted the Fever offense. It's just not looking good, and I feel like this was the game. This was the Fever's game. Asia had 3 points until the end of the third quarter. She's not going to do that again. Nalissa Smith and Jackie Young cooked them. A lot of missed free throws and a lot of missed layups.
Let's zoom in on the elephant in the room, Caitlin Clark. Her absence has totally exposed Stephanie White's so-called system. Without Clark, the Fever are basically a team just running around, hoping Kelsey Mitchell bails them out. And don't get me wrong, Mitchell has had her moments. But when the Aces know she's your only real offensive engine, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. They just clamp down on her and make everyone else beat them. Suddenly, Indiana looks like a G League team trying to cosplay as contenders. Clark's presence? It changes that math entirely. Defenses have to extend out to the logo. They have to double-team off-ball screens. They have to give up driving lanes, all because they're terrified of her range. With her, everyone eats. Without her, you saw it. Howard standing around. Sims throwing the ball into the fifth row. Boston forced into bad positions. And Hall breaking her back for rebounds that go absolutely nowhere. Listen, this is where coaching really matters. A smart coach says, Clark is the system. She bends defenses, she dictates pace, she makes the entire league adjust to her. You build around that. You embrace it. Instead, White seems obsessed with proving she can win her way. And that obsession has turned the Fever into their own worst enemy. Now think about how other coaches handle their stars. Becky Hammon? She lets Wilson be Wilson. Gino Auriemma at UConn, he handed Paige Bickers the keys from day one. Even Kim Mulkey. Love her or hate her. New Angel Reese had to be the centerpiece at LSU. They don't try to downplay their best players. They lean into them. Stephanie White, though. She's treating Clark like she's some optional luxury. Like a sixth man you keep in your back pocket. It's absolutely laughable. And the fans, they see it. Social media just lit up after this game. Fire Stephanie White was trending in Indiana WNBA circles. Clips of missed free throws were spliced with White looking clueless on the sideline. Memes popped up of her holding Clark back, with captions like, "System first, win second." People are not buying the excuses anymore. What makes this whole thing sting even more is the timing. Clark is in year 2. This is supposed to be her leap year, where she shakes off the rookie narrative and establishes herself as the league's most dangerous guard. Instead, the headlines are all about whether her coach is sabotaging her return. That's insane. The WNBA has been begging for a face of the league. They finally have one, and her own franchise can't figure out how to handle it. Let's go deeper into this so-called sabotage theory. The argument goes like this. Stephanie White knows if Clark comes back and runs the show, her own coaching style becomes irrelevant. She'll be exposed as someone who can't manage star power, can't adapt, and can't build a modern offense. So instead of embracing the inevitable, she's allegedly convinced management that Clark isn't ready. Keep her on the shelf, ride the team game narrative, protect her own job. It sounds wild, I know, but the evidence is piling up. Clark's recovery timeline lined up perfectly with the playoff. Fans saw her at shoot-arounds, taking light shots, looking mobile. She wasn't limping around in a boot. She wasn't bedridden. She looked close. And yet every update was the same. She's progressing, but not ready. Convenient, right? Too convenient. Meanwhile, Indiana kept losing in predictable fashion. White's offense stalled. Role players looked lost. And Vegas didn't even need peak Wilson to dismantle them. If you're ownership, you can't look at that and say, yeah, this is working. You look at that and you ask, where's Caitlin Clark? And when the answer keeps circling back to the coach, fans start connecting those dots. Now some defenders of White will say, she's just being cautious. She doesn't want to risk Clark's long-term health. Fair point, until you remember this is the playoffs. This is the moment you live. If your franchise player is cleared and wants to play, you let her play. Period. That's what competitors do. And Clark, she's the most competitive player in the league. You think she's sitting out by choice? Please. She'd tape her own groin together and limp onto the floor if she had the option. The truth is, White is a pragmatic, risk-averse coach. That works when you're managing a roster of grinders. It doesn't work when you're blessed with a generational scorer who thrives on risk. Clark's logo threes, her no-look passes, her high-tempo drives, they're not safe. They're disruptive. They're game-changing. And that's exactly why defenses crumble against her. By keeping her sidelined, White isn't just being cautious. She's neutering the very weapon that makes Indiana special. And that's why the backlash is so loud. Fans aren't dumb, guys. They know free throws cost this game. They know the Fever had chances and blew them. But they also know this. With Clark on the floor, Vegas doesn't get away with a sloppy night. With Clark on the floor, the Aces panic when their MVP has a dud. With Clark on the floor, Indiana has a shot to win the series. Without her, they're toast. This leads us right to the future. If the Fever bow out like this, with Clark sitting in street clothes while her team collapses, ownership has a massive decision to make. Do you double down on White's system and risk alienating the league's most marketable star? Or do you cut ties and find a coach who knows how to maximize Clark before it's too late? History says you pick the star. Coaches are replaceable. Generational players aren't. White might think she's protecting her system, but what she's really doing is fast-tracking her own pink slip. Because when Clark eventually voices her frustration, and you know that day is coming, the front office won't side with the coach. They'll side with the player who sells out arenas and carries the league's TV ratings. It's not just about Indiana either. The whole WNBA is watching. Other teams are licking their chops, hoping the Fever implodes so they can make a play for Clark down the road. That's how valuable she is. You don't gamble with that kind of asset. And yet White looks like she's doing exactly that, whether intentionally or through sheer stubbornness. The irony here is brutal. Stephanie White was praised as Coach of the Year caliber not too long ago. People said she turned the Fever around, made them competitive, gave them structure, and in some ways that's true. But structure only gets you so far. At some point you need to unleash your star. You need to let chaos work in your favor. And if White can't do that, then she's not the coach to take Indiana to a championship. She's the coach before the coach who does. That's why fans are calling this sabotage. Maybe it's not intentional. Maybe it's ego, fear, or just an outdated philosophy. But the effect is the same. Clark is sidelined. The Fever are losing, and the fan base is furious. So where does this all end? If Indiana crashes out, expect the noise to get absolutely deafening. Expect talk shows to rip White. Expect social media to demand answers. And expect Clark herself to eventually drop a subtle comment that lights the fuse. Because competitors don't sit quietly forever. And Clark, she is the ultimate competitor. The Fever have one choice if they want to avoid a full-blown meltdown. Put Clark at the center of everything. Build around her. Trust her. And if White can't do it, then find someone who can. Because wasting her prime years with safe coaching isn't just bad strategy, it's sabotage. So there you have it. Stephanie White is officially in the hot seat, and Fever fans are just done making excuses. The numbers don't lie. The eye test doesn't lie. And those conspiracy theories, they suddenly don't sound so crazy anymore. Indiana has a generational star, and if her coach won't unleash her, somebody else will.